Cool, so I'm just going to do a video of exactly how I would trade. None of this like, oh, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. I'm just going to do exactly what I do, and maybe you can take something away from what I do, and if so, I could make a video dedicated on that exact thing. So I cut the chart back a few days, and I'm just gonna go through everything I would be looking at in this moment. All the levels I would mark, all the levels I wouldn't necessarily even care about, just to see if maybe you're just marking random things, just to feel like there's something there for you to look at, which I would urge you not to do, obviously. Just try and get the important stuff on your screen. So the only things I'd care about would be order block on both sides. I would be thinking, in this moment coming down, I would have been thinking, okay, we closed the higher. First of all, targets up here now. If we can show we're holding off of this will be used to flip direction. So once we tested it in this day, I would be looking at flipping back down to a range that might flip us higher, because I'd be anticipating, because we didn't close the low down here, this shouldn't necessarily break us all the way down now. It still can, but in this moment I wouldn't be thinking for that to be the case. I'd be looking at the creation of this order block, because if we gain this, then this is actually confirming we will come down, and direction has flipped in that moment in time. So it would go from me thinking this should push up higher to all-time highs. If this holds and we cycle through this level and we gain this level, and then in my opinion direction's flipped, we should close this range as well, potentially come up to this range, still can come up to this range because we haven't closed it yet, and then just proceed down to the next range below. So these are the only levels I'd realistically have on the daily. Wouldn't mark that order block higher, because it is just the midpoint of this bearish level, which is what I'd prioritize more over the order block, just because I want to see if this gets gained anyway. So I would just mark that ungained bearish OB2, and I wouldn't be looking at too much else. You can potentially get a redefined range in this level, so look at the 25% of it, but I personally wouldn't. I don't really care for redefined ranges that often, really. I would just look at the midpoint open and the low. On the weekly, is there anything I'd look at? The midpoint of the order block, I don't think I'd really look at anymore. We failed the higher. The order block is actually the daily order block from the last range, so I wouldn't have this on my screen. The reason why I wouldn't really look too much at this order block anymore is because we already failed to go higher, so this order block's already failing, so I'm not really looking at this anymore. I would look at the weekly order block low. So these are the levels I would have on my screen. Monthly, I know there's nothing. Hourly, in this moment right now, I'd be looking at, okay, we tested the high of the daily bearish order block. We didn't close the low for that order block, so I would have been anticipating us going higher in this moment once we start cycling down. So we close the low here, close a low. This is the order block for that low. It's also the order block for the entire range anyway, as this one isn't higher than this one. So I'd be anticipating going no higher than the high of this range, not breaking kind of the high for this order block either. Seeing every range up that closes as just white noise and ranges that do have to close to get us up to the target. So every time you go to take a trade, for example, you want to take a short, and you see a range below you, let's say if you're on a lower time frame, you see a range below you, right, like right here. You've closed this, you've also hit your target, be it wherever it is. Don't see a close as something to be afraid of to take a trade off of that, because this is an interior close when we hit an exterior target. So I'm not really looking at these highs being closed if I was shorting at an exterior target as something to throw me off. Vice versa on the other side, if I was trying to long, right, and this candle closed down here, I'm not looking at this as holding to take us down, because we're hitting exterior target, so there's no reason for that to break us all the way down. If anything, it will sweep. It's not going to break us down though. So exterior targets, and we get a close when it necessarily shouldn't. I'm not seeing that as anything of value unless it closes on a bit of a higher time frame. Maybe it closes on the 5 or the 15. You know, if we was hovering around here for 5 or 15 minutes, then it's an issue anyway. We should be going higher. But unless it closes a higher time frame, I would still take trades if we was to close a higher and I was looking for a short. So in this moment, yeah, I'd be looking for short to hold in 15 minute here, 15 minute range of this whole entire range. If we're holding this, the low for it's down here, so we're kind of on set to get down here. We close this in this moment before that one, so here I'd be looking at price coming up to here. So I'd look at the midpoint of this. This level's quite close to that. We can anticipate it will go higher than this level. So if that was the case, I'd get rid of that on my screen. And then once we hit that, I'm already saying, okay, if we've closed these, this is the first sign to move lower. Once we come back up, this is on set for shorts. If we wanted to wait for more confirmation, and then what I would do here is just look for higher time frame if you want. Just look for the low that tapped into this first to close, so you'd have to wait all the way down here on a higher time frame, on a 1 minute time frame. You would obviously be looking at this low. If we go to the actual order block low, because this will be a bit more accurate, because this is, you know, you test anything in the range, right, you'd be looking for whatever tested this candle first to close. So the candles from here to here, right, if we just change this to how I usually have it, we'd be looking at this range here closing. So once this closes, personally for me this is confirmation. If I wasn't already in it somewhere up here, if I was waiting for a bit more, it'd be this. Once this goes, there's no reason to go higher anymore. This is confirming the move down. It's the thing that tapped into that level first. So this is what you could wait for. There's nothing saying in this moment here trading is a bad idea. I would still take a trade here. Like I said, if we hit an exterior target and we've closed this doesn't mean anything to me, especially when you straight up break it right away. So I'm seeing this range here as something that shouldn't hold. It still can, and it does, but I would still take my chances of taking something in here. If this candle wasn't so big, because it is, I'd use a 15-second time frame to look for an entry just to get it down for me 2R. So I'm sure for me, I would have just got break even. I don't think this would have went down 2R. It would have if I got in there, but I'm sure I wouldn't have got 2R. Maybe I got 1R. That's something I would have tried. And once we come back up here, I'm still not looking at this as going higher at all. Have we closed anything on the 5 minute? We have 15. Does the 15 look like it's going to close up? No, we haven't closed the higher. We haven't closed the higher for the order block. No reason why this should go higher. I'd only be looking for shorts, and like I said, if you wanted to wait for this to be closed, well, what closed it, what this range did, is there a high here? No, there isn't a high here. So this is the higher that brought us down. There's no higher, this is the higher. Shouldn't go any higher than this high, so we can look for a trade inside of this range. On the 1 minute, it can go as high as this. It doesn't. What else am I looking at in this range? Well, where is that range? Okay. On a 5 minute range, this is the higher that brought us down. So these are all the things it can hold, and these are all the things I'll be looking at in the moment. Is it holding low aggressively? In my opinion, no. So once we don't go down off of that about twice, I'd no longer be looking at that. I'll be looking at potentially not getting above highs. I would have personally been waiting for at least this 5 minute test, so I would have missed something here. After that, what can I wait for? I can wait for the next range to close. So personally, if this closes, I don't see why you can't go for this trade here. If you want to wait for that, then you go for this. You still haven't hit the exterior target for this range. It's not really exterior, it's still interior. This is a 1 minute time frame, but in this range here, I'll be looking at this low. We've not hit it yet. There's no reason to go higher. We didn't gain the range for this order block. Closed here, we have the order block for the entire range here. Once we test that, wherever you test that, I'm looking at this candle, and I will be taking the midpoint of this order block. Just taking it down for 2R, because I know it can go lower down here. That's the target, right? We've not tested it, we've not swept it, we've not done anything, we've not closed this. This shouldn't hold. If it was going to hold, well, look how many times it tested anyway. I would take that down for 2R, which I'm sure is just above this order block open. So here, that would be it. For you, it would literally just be here. That's all you have to do, there to there. Okay, and then once we do close this target, what am I looking at? Once we close this target, I now know full well we can return to the order block of the range. This entire range, right? This was the interior order block. It's also the exterior order block. Its highest order block in this range is here. So this is the order block to look at. That's personally what I'd be looking at. I'd also be looking at something I do quite often, is if there is two ranges, this is the order block for the range, this is also a low that just closed. If we're missing the order block I am looking at, but we still hold this one, I would see something like this, a sweep, failing to get above this range, tested this. Also, don't forget the fact that we're still holding that order block open. I'd be looking at, okay, we're probably not going to the midpoint anymore. Failing this, once we failed this, this is a time where I normally go for the open, because if we go for the midpoint, there's nothing saying this candle here isn't just coming down to here to hold this for the next candle to close up. A lot more confirmation once we're getting all the way down to the low to say that this most likely isn't going higher. So this is a time where I'll take the open, and obviously 2R for me would be all the way down here, which is quite a distance for me. I would have just got trailed or break even, because I'm normally not in trades for this long anyway. It would have went to my target, but I wouldn't be in that for that long. And also another thing with that order block open that I go for is you have to realize on a lower time frame, the order block open is normally a bullish order block. So once we get here, I'm waiting to see if this bullish order block is going to hold on the 15-second to bring us up before we go lower. Because if we're getting in straight up, there's countless times in the past where I've taken losses of taking the order block open for a short, but on the 15-second it's bearish. Let's say on the 15-second we might close this higher. It's bullish, sorry. 15-second we might close this higher, and we're holding a 15-second bullish order block. I'm getting in for a short and it longs up, because on a lower time frame it's done exactly what it should do to continue higher. But because I wasn't looking at that time frame, I would take a loss there. So a lot of times if I'm taking the open, I'd make sure that pattern, the pattern we look for at the setup, the close higher order block, isn't happening on the lower time frame just to cycle higher. Okay, so we just go forward in time now. Done enough hindsight, looking what I'd look for. We'll just continue this price action down. Have we hit any targets yet? We closed here, we came up. So our target is here. We know that we can hold this range momentarily. So what's happening right now is exactly what I'd expect and be anticipating, is to flip direction momentarily, which I'd normally just look for the range above that if there was a range. So 5 minutes is not really anything. 15, there's not really much of a range. 1 minute, also not much of a range, so there's not too much to look at here. I'd kind of look at this, and now I'd wait for this range to close really. This is the only thing you can look at. It did close, so there's nothing saying we can't hold here. I wouldn't really say you can't take a trade beforehand, but I mean there's not really much to do here. It's choppy for a while, only closing higher, so there's no reason to take a short. I would really, I'd really just be waiting for this to close. Once this closed, I would look for a short from that moment forth on a lower time frame, higher time frame. Sorry, this is where you get a better picture, right? Because on the 5 minute, we failed the higher, the only higher here. We failed the higher, we closed the low. Now we can actually look at shorts already, because on the 1 minute it was saying the opposite. Right, we closed here, we closed here as well. Once we closed this on the 1 minute and 5 minute, what would be wrong with taking the trade already at that point? I still wouldn't have got anything now because this closed. I'd be looking at price to come up to here. It didn't, so I would miss that as well. But that's what you need to be doing, right? If you close on the 1 minute, did you close on the 5? Also, you just have to see, does it actually look like it's gonna go up on a higher time frame? Because a lot of the times it's quite obvious it's not going to. It's like seeing this, right? Does it actually look like it's gonna go higher? No, it doesn't. So move it forward. Okay, we did close this, and we did return. So now we can look for something, right? This tested. My first attempt would have been, we failed this. We failed this, right? Okay, what would be wrong with the midpoint? Nothing would be wrong with the midpoint. Would I have got filled for 2R? Yes, I would have. It goes a bit higher. Can I take the same trade again? Yes. Why not? We failed the high again. We failed the first high. Nothing saying this is going to go higher. This is a trade where I'd rather take the low of the order block. Again, just like the same thing I said previously about looking to see if there's a bullish order block, it might flip us up to go higher. I'd wait for that, and then I'll get the trade just simply down for my 2R. So 2R, build all the way down to here. Reasons why I wouldn't take the midpoint is the exact same as the last one, because this candle here, there's nothing saying it's not just testing the midpoint, failing to get lower, holding the order block here to get above here. Waiting for it to go lower is a more logical decision. And we don't know if that did do the thing I'm talking about. If it did, and then I still took it, I would have taken loss. If it did hold it and continue up and not close it, and then I wouldn't have taken this trade. Unfortunately, we can't look, but that's what I would have tried. Next thing, I would still be looking at this 5 minute time frame. Have we actually closed it? No. So is there a reason to move higher? No. 15 minute. 15 minute definitely looks like it's trying to flip up. Absolutely. So maybe what I would do here is I'd wait for this low to go, and then we can look for the shorts again. Which I mean is the low to wait for anyway, on the 1 minute as well. It's not closed yet, it's closed now. So in my opinion, we can now go for shorts. What range closes down? The 5 minute, we've still not closed any lows. So if we're anticipating it going lower still, well, we've not closed on the 5 minute, so it can still, it still needs to go lower, right? It shouldn't go any higher than this. So we take the order block 1.7. I think if my stop loss is 1.7, I would just put it to the previous higher. Just take that down for 2R. It shouldn't go any higher than this, right? We close this. It needs to close on the 5 minute. You know, if we've not closed it on the 5 minute, we close it on the 1, but we anticipate price going down. We failed the high here. No reason to go higher yet until that goes. If I'm seeing that on the 1 minute, I'm taking that because I know it can still close on the 5. Can we take another entry? Yes. Where would we take it? Close. What is the next range to take? Where's the lowest fair value gap? We have a volume imbalance, which is the fair value gap. Highest fair value gap, sorry, not lowest. Tested into that. Same thing again. I'm not taking the midpoint of this candle because your stop loss is really, really tight, and you're getting in way too early. There's nothing saying that this black candle wasn't going to hold the midpoint and rock it up. I'd be waiting again for that same setup I'm talking about, and you can see it happening in this range here. Not caring about this interior range closing. Remember, if my direction's exterior, exteriorly is down, and we're closing an interior high to get up to where it needs to go, this range isn't going to hold. There's no reason why this range is going to hold, so I'm not looking at us coming to here. It's something to worry about. You can see it in this candle as well. The thing I'm talking about, the 15-second bullish order block holding, bringing us back up, and then failing. Once we come back down to here, this is where I would get in, because we clearly closed it, failed to move higher, held the bearish 15-second order block, broke back down. Well, what's the next thing? What's the next thing in the sequence to happen is to close the 15-second low that brought us up to the 15-second bearish order block. So once we test back down, I'd be getting in there, knowing full well it's going to get to here. Take it down for 2 hours. It's just the next thing. It's like we close here, well, this is the thing it needs to hold. We close here, well, it's just the next thing. The same setup over and over again. Something you can start doing if you are waiting for the order block to test and it's not testing the order block. If you can get these trades, if your stop loss isn't too big, and just put it above the order block for the range previously that you're anticipating it coming to. Because there's going to be countless times where you're going to miss out on a trade because you didn't want to take the fair value gap because you was waiting for the order block. Well, why can't you take that and just have it above the high? Because that's where your stop loss would be anyway, right? Especially at a time like this, where I know no one's trading at midnight, but when your stop losses are so low, it's going to be a lot easier for you to win. So maybe consider trading at different sessions, like London at 8 AM, Asia, Australian. There's loads of different sessions you can trade where the stop losses aren't so heavy where you can't have a good stop loss. Because I feel like the time you trade at for your current levels, it might be a bit too you might be a bit too anxious getting into trades, because a lot of the times you take a trade, it stops you out and then goes in your direction, because you can't have a stop loss that big. Because maybe at about 4, this stop loss might be about 20. At this time it's 3. Anyway, we closed this on the 1 minute, we didn't close on the 5, so we can anticipate it might just flip momentarily. Because we didn't close on the 5, I'm not looking for this to hold to close this up. This is the thing you need to be keying yourself in on, is we close it on the 1 minute. Does this mean this is going to hold and flip us all the way up now? No, because we didn't close it on the 5. Nothing happened on the 15. So closing on the 1 minute doesn't mean anything. So I'll be looking at this to flip us momentarily. If it's going to flip us, looking for the range above, just like I was saying here. It should just flip us to the range above, which it does. It flips us to the range above. Highest fair value gap here. Same thing again, right? Like, there's nothing saying you can't do this. Just get 1 hour. What's wrong with being in a trade for, you know, this amount of time? What would I do here? I would take the low of the order block, wait for the same thing again, like I always say. Well, this should flip us up to the range above. 15-second time frame would be that range above. Once we flip up and we're failing to get higher, I would take that down. My 2R would be there, so it would have just spiked me out. And we fall off a cliff, because this shouldn't hold, right? Now go on to the 5 minute. We close this range. Can go up higher. do we still anticipate this whole thing going lower? What was our exterior bias? Exterior bias was up until we started seeing these closing. We flipped it down. We want to see if we can get to here. So in this moment, I'd still be looking for us to go lower. 15 minute is looking like a sweep right now. There's nothing saying you can't take this range though. We closed, comes up to here. The aggressive low's here. The low for the whole entire range is here. So a couple of levels I'd have on my screen is the low for this range that was created to try and push us up. So I'd be looking at this low instead of this low. I'd be looking at the order block. That's all I'd be looking at. There's no fair value gap on the 15-second. Just had to pause that, sorry. On the 5-minute, do we have any fair value gap to look at? Seen something. The only fair value gap to look at would be the inversion fair value gap. It's the only fair value gap in this whole entire range on the 5 minutes. It's also the highest one. Our 15-minute, one is also here. So we could do this. We can go as high as that, obviously. Close it on the 15-minute, like we said. Even if we did sweep this, and we was going to go higher, you can still hold here before going here to go higher. I think it's going down, so even though this looks like a sweep, I would still take a trade off of it. Wouldn't take anything yet because it looks like there was news. I would be waiting to react off of this or this. This is tested twice. If this was aggressive, it should have gone down. So once that fails, I just get it straight off my screen. This here, I'll do the same thing where I'd wait for the low and wait for that same thing. You close, it's going to come back up. Once it fails, it comes back down. I'd get in there. We shouldn't flip until we at least get to the order block of this range. So the order block is this one. Already fallen off the higher. Where's the midpoint? The midpoint is all the way down here. So this might bring us back up once we get here. It being that far away, I don't see why you wouldn't try and take this, right? We failed the low. The aggressive move, which was the low that we disregarded, this one, we failed that. If we fail that, it should come up to the order block and the fair value gap. That's going to be a slower move. We get that slower move. Take it down for 2R. So this is what I'm saying, there's nothing wrong with taking a trade just because we swept this. Because it's not gonna we're not actually gonna find out if it has swept that until we actually push higher. We don't. We push exactly where we thought it was gonna push and then goes down. So we're still on set for this target. Could you have taken anything here? I don't see why not. We failed this, right? We failed this. I'm not looking at price coming up to here. I'm not looking at any of this range here. And even if it did, we already held it. We held the low aggressively, right? Reasons why I'm not looking for it to return all the way back up to here is because if we're failing this midpoint of the order block, it's going to come down to the low. So seeing a interior range close and an order block created here, I'm taking this. I don't know why you wouldn't. It's holding the low of the range that tested the 15 minute fair value gap, sorry, not 15 second. It's holding the low. We're failing the midpoint of the order block for this range. Here, we're testing back into the order block, and we're taking that down. It's failing the sweep as well, right? It's failing the sweep. It should have brought us up above here. It should have flipped down to here or here, and then gone up. We failed it. So this is a really obvious short. There's no reason to go higher. 5 minutes well might confirm that for us. We still need to close the 5 minute low. Also it's also the 1 minute low, but we need to close. We held the gap here. So if we're holding this gap, it's a sign that we're not moving higher. Hold this gap here, which is the range it broke that we got in off of. So if it's failing here, this is another thing saying, why would we go higher? We're holding that range already before it closes on the 5 minute. So to kind of tell yourself and show yourself it's no longer going to go up to the highest point of the range, just look for higher time frames, because we might already be testing something on a higher time frame, and that's the reason it's not going to go higher. Or it might be holding a low, which it's doing. There's no reason for it to always go up to here. If you waited for that every single time, you'd miss a lot of trades. So you either do what I said in the start about having your stop loss at the top. Here's 40, so obviously you're not doing that, or you're waiting for it and missing it, or you're just taking, you know, the thing I'm talking about. There's no reason why it needs to go higher, right? It's holding that. If you was very unsure, yeah, you would have your stop loss up here. But if it's 40, the only thing you can do is either miss the trade or take this one here, because this tests into 5 minutes, holding the low. Close the immediate low here. Order block for that is this. This is testing into that, and then we can take this. You know, there might be a 15-second range that we're failing a bit higher. If not, if there wasn't a 15-second range we're failing, I'm either only taking this trade if my stop loss is here, or I'm missing the trade, because a 20 stop loss is way too high, really. Okay, so what's happened here then? We've closed it now. We've closed it, we should come higher. We've not got a target yet, so if we're still shorting, we're seeing this as momentarily flipping us up. Okay, so I have to pause it again. So what we're saying, closed. Okay, we should come back up, right? 5 minute we close, yes. 15 minute. You can actually see a range here and here. Okay, is there an order block? No, so we can't really use much on the 15 minute. We have to go into the 5 minute. We're anticipating it's going to momentarily flip us up to the next range, because we still think it's going to go lower. Well, this is the range anyway. Shouldn't go any higher. If it's fouled to go aggressively off the low, which it did, right? We blew straight through it. We held it. Also held the high here. Moved up aggressively. So it's doing reverse what we would kind of be hoping for an aggressive move down. Not to worry if it doesn't happen, we just know it's going to come all the way back up. Could we take any longs off of this? No, it was way too aggressive in my opinion. This isn't enough to say, yeah, we can just long here and go higher. We've not hit anything of importance. No reason to flip. I'd still be thinking shorts. So yeah, you can long up, but I would kind of want to see a lot more sideways, closing hires, holding all the blocks, maybe something like this, and then after a couple of ranges it's enough to say, right, let's go higher then. So once we close and foul this, I'm looking at the highest range here. Keep this range here in mind on the 1 minute, just because on the 5 minute route we should come up to here. We're going to flip up to the next range above if we're going to proceed down. Well, this is the next range above on the 1 minute. This isn't really much of a range, right? But this was the trade we took. This is the one that closed us down here. So I would be looking at this as well, because it can still hold this range, come up to here, right? Because it might spike here and go lower. Which is exactly what it does, right? It holds the range. Why? Because this is the range that broke us down. When would I take a trade? If it's confirmed to me this is holding, well, we failed the high. It's holding the order block, right? Failed the high. It's holding the order block here, right? Even if it's above, it's still holding it. If this was going to go higher, we would have. So these ranges were used. These ranges here, all of these ranges were used to try and break here. Once it fouls, all of that work's been undone. The order block for this range is here. If we foul, it should momentarily flip us back up. What does it do here? It momentarily flips us up for 2 candles. Could we have got a trade if we waited that long? Probably not, unless you went for the creation of this mini range. If you saw that straight up as failure and you took the low, you waited for that same pattern I keep talking about in the 15 second, you could have got a trade here, yes. This is enough for me to say, okay, we're not going any higher, we failed this. All these ranges are going to get disregarded. They've all tried to hold anyway. Once we get here, I would have taken this. This here is also not a bad idea. This should flip us. Remember, if we fail the high, it should only flip us to the range above. Well, this is the range above. So it's flipped us there. Any fair value up? No. So you can only realistically say it was holding a low. If it's holding a low, it's going to be an aggressive move, which it was. Okay, so now we've held that. Am I looking at this range anymore? No, I'm not. So I'm looking at this low. On the 5 minute, is there any reason to go higher? No, we closed. So this is another, seeing this hit now, this would have been another thing I could have tried on the 1 minute. This range, we're holding the low of the 5 minute range that just closed. There's no reason to test higher. Right, held it again, keep failing the high. The only high we can look at here is this. Close the low. Does it test back up? No. Holds the only order block fair value up of the range and holds it aggressively. I would have personally been waiting for this to close, so I would have missed this. I'd be waiting for the actual low to close here, realistically, if I wasn't trying to go for the aggressive move right off of the low holding. Could you have reacted off of that though, this holding? Yeah, you could have. You can do potentially this next candle tests into this gap. Like I say, just have it at the higher where you would normally have it if using the order block. Have a bigger stop loss, or at least you're in a trade, right, that's still got a really good potential of holding. Other than that, I wouldn't really try anything. In this one, it didn't hold at all. You couldn't really react off of anything. No reason to even enter a trade if it's not holding anything. Rips up. Anything we missed, or is it just moving up? Just moving up really. Still anticipating it could go lower as well. So I'm not really seeing this as much until we obviously start cycling all the way up higher, and then we can say direction's probably flipped higher. But to do that, we would have to come all the way up to here. But that's exteriorly, right? Interiorly, we might start actually seeing, we can actually get longs now. We close, we're holding here. Okay, if we're doing that, we might be retesting the range above again. This range has kind of already been tested. So there's a world where, because we closed here, we could now bring this all the way up to here, meaning we're testing exteriorly. And if this fails, and then direction has flipped long, so if it's not going to get down to this target, the ungained bearish order block, it still can. It's still got a long time to get down there, right? It's 3 AM. It's this daily order block. It doesn't even have to get there on the day. There's nothing saying we can't push all the way up, push all the way up here, maybe spike here and then come all the way down. So I'm looking at this here and going, okay, the only range that's actually been created so far has been closed in the 15 minute. If it's been closed in the 15 minute, that could be a sign that we're going higher. Anything on the 5 minute? Well, on the 5 minute, we've already closed higher. We invalidated the move down by closing back above here. This range closed right, we failed aggressively. So unless we move down now for this, which it doesn't look like we're gonna because we closed the midpoint of it, there's no real reason to say that we're going lower at this moment in time. So we failed to move down aggressively. We have one more shot to move down slowly. It fails that as well. So now, in my opinion, direction has flipped. Be it be just up to here, just up to here, I don't care. I just know I can now long instead of short. Once we close that, have we closed it in the 15 minute yet? Probably not. No. The 15 minute close was here. Didn't close it in the 15 minute. So it still needs to go higher. So what am I doing here? If I think this range is going to close, because we haven't closed it in the 15 minute yet, this is a point where I'm looking at this higher range here to hold instead of coming all the way down. Because if we're going to close this high and actually go higher, well, why would we come all the way down to here? Because that 15 minute candle is now just going to look like a massive wick with the body down. That's just going to look like a failure to move lower. Whereas this moment right now, it's kind of already shown us in the 1 minute and the 5 minute, but it's trying to hold to go higher. So we're waiting for that 15 minute closure to completely confirm that to us. So if we're kind of hanging around in this range, this is a point here where I would take that trade that a lot of you both try and take sometimes, where you take a long at highs, because we still need to close at a higher time frame. So for me personally, once we saw this close, I'd use this as a bait range. Once that bait range holds, is there any high here? Well, there's a high here. This is what I would take here, because the bait range held, the next high closed, order block here, tested into that. Try and take that higher, right? Where would it have gone? Well, it didn't test you at the midpoint. This would have just been a break even trying to take this one, because if it pushed all the way up to here, I don't know why you would still be at -1R. Would I take a re-entry? Yes, I would. I would take a re-entry. we test down, right? Because there's nothing saying it can't push lower. Like I said in previous videos, it can hold the order block, the midpoint of it, the low, whatever it holds is what we react off of. I would have tried that. Break even, maybe something small at most. Pushes back down. I would have just tried it again because it still needs to close in that 15 minute. Oh, it did close in the 15 minute actually here on the candle we got in at. So this is kind of, I would already be anticipating maybe this comes back down. The 30 pushed up. Now we closed it. I'd already kind of be anticipating this moment unless we hold aggressively, which we did. It might, there's a world where it comes all the way down, right? Because we closed on the 15 now. We got on at 29. The next candle was the closure. And it closed and came back down and went higher. So maybe looking at this now, if I was getting in on the 30 candle, if that did actually close to higher, I think I would have just missed this. Because, you know, if we close the high right, now it's going to flip. So now I'd kind of be taking that trade that you guys take, where you close the 1 minute high and then you're trying to get it higher. It's kind of the same thing, right? Because this is 15 minute high now closed, and I'm just trying to get it aggressively higher. This is why you do actually have to be making sure of everything, because you miss one key piece of information like I did just there, and that could be a matter of a win or a loss. Because 2 minutes earlier, if this was like 27, 26, 100% would have taken this. If I saw it in the moment it was 29, and then the next candle was 30, and it's probably going to flip us down, I'm sure I would have missed this. I can say that because it's backtesting in hindsight, but I would like to believe I wouldn't have taken that. I would have got a break even anyway, but that's besides the point. Are we holding aggressively? It's definitely looking like we're trying to. Close this. Okay. Is the range is going to come down to? Comes down to the range. Okay. We already think it's going to go higher if it's holding aggressively, right? What could we have traded off of? We tested did we test the order block? We didn't. Lowest fair value gap, is there one? Inversion fair value gap here. You thought it was going to go higher holding aggressively, well this is what you would look for if you want to wait for a bit more because you're holding aggressively. Well, you close this, you know, there's not really, unless we get all the way up to here, there's not really a world where it should come down if we're failing this range. So what I would do here is just wait, see if this actually holds us down. If this closes, then I would take this as the order block to go higher. It doesn't do that, so we wouldn't take that. If it's not holding aggressively, we can have that run down, right? So that's what I'd be looking for now, is that run down because we failed aggressively. So where can it go to below? Well, it can go here. It doesn't have to go all the way down. This is the highest fair value on the 5. If it's holding here, I'd want to see signs of it holding. Once I see signs, I can tell myself there's no reason that we need to come all the way down here to this lowest point on the 1 minute. So that would be all the way down to here. There's no reason to come down to here if we're holding this. Okay, what am I waiting for now? Right now, does it look like it's holding? No, not in my opinion. I would have this on my screen because this is also a high as well. I want to see if this is holding. So what I would be waiting for in this trade is this to close. Did we close this and retest this yet? No. So even if we close this, it could just be closing to take us up to here to then go lower, so we would be entering a failing trade if we try and take an interior close, being this, over an exterior close, because this is older than this, just for this to take us lower. So if you're entering an interior break to get to an exterior, most likely you're going to keep taking losses doing that. So try and remember that. So what I'd wait for here is this closes, this fails to move us lower, we break what closed, try to close this range, and then we can take something off of that. Okay, we're failing to move lower, right? We closed this. We haven't got the target yet, so I still think we can go higher. We are looking like we're trying to hold this 5-minute fair value gap. What's the first sign of that happening? Is this. Okay, we're at this candle now. Almost at this candle, not at it yet. At it now. Okay. So what we do is, personally, I would want to see a bait range, because I don't know if this is going to actually be holding to take us lower, or, you know, we just get straight in if we were so convinced in direction. Like I said though, this is exterior, this is interior, so interior obviously does break exterior, but I want to see that happen. I don't want to enter on it trying to happen. So what I would do here is we either miss this whole move, or it comes back down to this order block now and we get a trade. There's nothing saying in the future we wouldn't be able to get every entry. Let's say it comes around here, about an hour later it comes down, we've not really gone anywhere, and then we can take the same trade. Can I take anything here? Yes, I can. We're holding the high, we're holding the fair value gap. What am I doing? I am taking this here, trying to get out for 2R. I would have got a break even here. Even if this still goes up, you know, if the candle's all the way up here, I'm normally break even already. Would I take a re-entry? If it shows that I can get one, yes I would. Could I? Not really, in my opinion it's too high at this point. I'd kind of just wait for the pullback, because we've failed to close this so far. We've failed to close this. This might just switch to take it slower. So if we're not even closing at the 1 minute, this is an issue. Whereas normally if you close at the 1 minute, it might stay around here to close at the higher time frames. We've not even closed the 1 minute, so I don't think it's going to stay around here. And it doesn't. But it does come back down for that trade, right? It does still come down for that trade. Can we validate that on any other time frame? In my opinion, no. I would kind of just wait here. But we've not really closed any low for this order block, so this shouldn't actually really hold us. This is kind of really telling us it's failing to go any lower than this range. So with that in mind, what we're looking at now is, once we close here, can we push back down? Can we push back down to here? Maybe it swoops here, goes into this range. If it closes this range, then I would be expecting this range, not this range. Okay. We fell aggressive, which if it were moving up aggressively, it should have done it already. So if it's failing that, it's going to go lower. It's going lower. Okay, cool. We're at that point now, so now we can start looking at trades, right? Are we holding this? Well, in this moment here, once we first test it, if you was holding that, why wouldn't I take this? because the low is so close. I wouldn't take this knowing full well. If I was going to take this, the moment it moves up to here, I'm break even, because it could hold the low aggressively to move us lower, which it looks like it's done in this moment. And it does do that. Am I seeing this as failure? No, I'm just seeing this as going a bit lower, and I still think it's going to go higher. So this is where I would start looking at taking trades. Where can I take a trade? I would personally wait for no signs of it holding us down, which would have been something I do, right? Don't start looking at this if you don't want to. If this candle fails, brings a big wick up and gains it again, I normally would just take that up. That's just something I do. You most likely are not going to be doing that and shouldn't, so what would we wait for? Okay, well, we've closed this. We still haven't come up to this high yet, so there's no reason to go lower, any lower than the range we just closed in the 1 minute. The 5 minute fair value gap here, so if we close this, it should return back down to here. 5 minute fair value gap, lowest 1 minute fair value gap, gaining of this candle. Okay, there's no reason to go lower. We've not failed anything at all. Because we failed this doesn't mean anything, because we haven't even attempted the exterior 5 minute yet, which is here. So we're just doing that cycle up to get to here. Right, we closed this, we're holding this range, so it's attempting to get all the way up to here. And it does. Does do that. Okay, cool. Move on. Remember our target on the 5 minute is what's here. Our exterior target is here. Now we've closed this here. We can come down. Definitely can come down. We don't have to. It could just come down to here. Also don't have to do that. It could just go up. If it does go up, just don't try and get a random spontaneous trade up here. We know it's going to try and go up to here, but we don't want to take an unnecessary loss trying to get a 1 minute range here when it's not testing anything of importance, and it can just plummet down to then go higher. So we just have to wait. If there's nothing there, just wait. Can we expect a flip in direction? Yes, we can. That flip in direction might bring us down to the low. It doesn't though. So what would we do here? Okay. We have not closed on the 5 minute. We've only closed on the 1. So right now, if I think we're going higher, then we shouldn't see this as a sweep. Another reason why I wouldn't see this as a sweep is because we've kind of created these lows at the bottom, equal lows for the future. If we close on the 1 minute, it's definitely trying to cycle up and go higher. So I still think there's a world where it does go higher here. So what I would do is I start waiting for highs to close. High close now. We still haven't closed it on the 5 minute. It needs to stay above this at 1 minute. Now we've closed on the 5 minute. It's been closed. Okay, we've closed this. In my opinion, this range is going to break to bring us down to this range. Does it have to? No, but that's just what I'd be anticipating at the moment. Once it doesn't, okay, it's confirmed to me we're holding this higher range, which is a better sign of aggression. Once we close this exterior higher, which we do, I'm now looking at this range here as something to potentially take us up to the first exterior target. So if we drop down to 1 minute, we close this on, like I said, close on the 5 minute here. If this is trying to hold us aggressively, which it looks like it's trying to. Now we've closed this, I would like to be looking for a long, close the exterior range. Let's look at the block for that exterior range, which is here. I'd like to get a trade off of that, trying to break this high. If it doesn't, in my opinion, this range is failing to bring us down to here. But I still think we close this right, so it should at least flip us before we go lower. We've tested it. We've gained the order block. We gained the higher. We failed the low, so we shouldn't be holding anything aggressively. Like I said, at the very least, I think we get to here. We do get to there. Could we have taken a re-entry anywhere? No. I'm not looking at this range here as anything. This range failed the higher. So why is this range going to hold? Right, you need to remember that. If there's a range in between where that range had a pullback and then failed the higher, this in between range here, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to hold us to go higher. Because if it was going to go higher, it should have broke higher and then came back down. It failed higher and then came back down. This isn't going to hold. This is the first sign of this first piece of aggression failing. And maybe the reason why it held here is because it had to close on the 15-minute. Did it close on the 15-minute? It closed on the 15-minute here now. So this would be this range here and this range would be it trying to hold the aggressively off of the higher and failing. If it's failing, it's going to bring us down. So it's failing here, it should bring us back down. And it brings us down. Because if you're failing the higher, and the reason why it was staying around here, you know, we closed on the 5-minute. Maybe the whole reason it did this is because it hadn't closed on the 15-minute yet. It did close on the 15-minute. In this candle, right? We're looking at this high, not that high. So it did close on the 15-minute. Maybe that's why it was hovering around here at 35. 45, sorry. Didn't close. Okay, so it closed here, yeah. So the reason it was hovering around here is because it still needed to close on the 15-minute, and then it tried to hold aggressively. We got that trade, trying to get off aggression, failed, or well, the trade didn't fail, but it failed to hold aggressively. Failing aggressively, we're going to move down. Well, we're going to move down to the range I just broke up. Order block for this range. Right, this range. Order block's gonna here. Actual order block. If we was to close here, well, the order block would be here. We didn't close down. This isn't anything. So what I'd be looking at here is this fair value gap has been holding us, and also the order block to try and push us higher. Does it close anything of importance, really? It closes this first range. Am I seeing that as complete failure? Well, if we go into a higher time frame and nothing really has happened, then no. So if we got here and we failed, well, then we're going to try and get back up and go higher. And we do. We get to our target. If we are going to continue higher, this should only flip us down to the next range. We close this range. This is what this range was brought up to do. We also tested into the range. Tested up into the range. Again, like we said, this range has kind of already been tested, so I don't think it's going to do too much. Brings us down to the order block of the range that broke, and swept. Looks like it's going to go a bit higher here, and it does go higher. So yeah, I hope that video help you a bit. I'm gonna end it here just because it's a bit long, and maybe I'll do another one tomorrow or so.